Hey guys, welcome. In this video I'm going to really quickly cover the basics of the materials that are found in the PDF I uploaded. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to email me at any point, but we're going to start here with the wooden pencil. Pretty standard drawing material, most people are probably familiar with this, but just in case you're not, if you buy an artist brand such as the Blick brand here, any artist pencil usually doesn't have an eraser, but what it does have up top are these numbers, and they range anywhere from 6H to 10B, whatever the case may be. But the H pencils are the harder pencils. It's an easy way to remember it. H is for hard, and the B pencils are the softer and darker pencils, which an easier way to remember that is that B stands for brittle. You can buy them in a set, you can buy them individually, whatever is easier for you. So here we have the other two types of pencils, both technically mechanical. This one very similar to ones you've probably seen at school. You fill the lead with different types of lead pertaining to the darkness. One size lead, same thickness. And this one is basically a holder for lead that you would find in a wooden pencil. So it's thick, you can get variations of line. You still have to sharpen it like you would a wooden pencil. But you do need to buy the lead separately. So the lead comes in cases like this, and ranging anywhere from 10B to 10H, H again being light, B being dark. So really quickly here, I'm going to show you the difference between the H and the B pencils, as well as the mechanical and the wooden pencils. First up, we have the wooden pencils. As you can see here, when you compare the H pencil, which is what I first drew with, and now the B pencil, the B is significantly darker. The benefits of using a wood pencil is that when you turn it on its side, you actually have a lot of lead to draw with, so you can get some really nice shading with it. You could also lift the pencil up as you draw your line to get those feathered lines that you see up top, which basically means it goes from thick to thin. Here is the other mechanical pencil that you fill with full sheets of lead, which is essentially the same thing as the wooden pencil. It's just that you have one case and you switch out the lead instead of buying 20 pencils. And it's just as effective on the side as a wooden pencil. The mechanical pencils that you're probably most familiar with the thin lead, again, you can get the feathered line, okay, you can change the lead from H to B, and you can draw on the side. However, you run the risk of breaking the lead since it's so thin, and there are some downsides to that. However, the lines always stay sharp, unlike the wooden pencil, which you will have to sharpen. Here we have our erasers. This is a kneaded eraser. You knead it like you would dough to clean it. So you use it, it can be shaped into different sizes to get into small areas or larger areas, and when you're done, after it's dirty, you knead it and it becomes clean again. Fairly useful. This vinyl rubber eraser, standard eraser, basically used for erasing anything that you don't want there. This is a standard ruler. This one is metal with a cork backing. The cork allows it not to slip when cutting or drawing lines. Other than that, it's a ruler. You should know what that does. Okay, paper. Something that should be relatively simple, but might be more complicated than you think. Here we have a 108-pound bleed-proof inking paper. It's a pad. 108 pound refers to the thickness of each piece of paper. The higher the number, the thicker the piece of paper. I don't care what size pad you get. 9 by 12 is pretty standard, but as long as it's big enough to complete your work, I'm happy. Bristol is also a good pad to buy. It is a thick paper, and both Bristol and any standard inking pad that is meant for ink and markers will be good because it withstands against bleeding. Bleeding is when the ink seeps into the paper and moves away from your original line, creating veins, which we don't want. Okay, here we have a compass. This is an extended compass. This is your standard compass. Okay, it basically makes a circle. One is in the center of the circle and the other is on the outskirts of the radius, and you twirl it to make a circle. The ones with the extension arm, like the one you see here, basically allow you to make a larger circle than a standard compass. Let's get into our inking materials. Here we have microns, which are your standard art inking pen, and then we also have Sharpies, which are your regular craft pen that I'm sure you've all used. Now, if you look carefully, there are numbers on the side of the microns which pertain to the thickness of the pen. This is great for creating line quality, which is your thickness of your line, which actually can make your image much better. On the top of each cap, there are also numbers pertaining to the thickness and thinness of each pen. That would be my recommended buy. However, Sharpies are fine as a substitute if you must. You have the fine and the ultra fine. The fine is the larger one, which I actually would recommend getting no matter what for filling in large areas of black, just because it's cheap. And the ultra fine you could use to ink your standard lines if need be. So let's take a look at what these do. Let's just review the microns and the Sharpies. The microns, like I said, the number determines the thickness of the line. As you can see here, they're pretty thin, and you can do feathered lines to vary your value. You could also hatch or cross hatch, okay, which is when you crisscross the lines to create a shadow, okay? If you notice, when you use the thinner one, the lines are a little thinner than in the thicker one. The Sharpies are going to be good for filling in large spaces, or for, quite frankly, doing the same things the microns do if that's all you can get your hands on. The ultra-fine Sharpie will be good for creating lines like the microns, and the thick Sharpie, like you see here, I think everyone should get no matter what, because it's a great way to fill in large areas of black for cheap. And that's something that we really need to be aware of, since there'll be a lot of areas that need black. So now there are other types of inking materials that you can buy, however it gets fairly expensive. Rapidographs are like the professional grade microns. As you can see on the top, it has the numbers pertaining to the thick and thinness of the pen, and each pen obviously will have a different thickness. Now these are very expensive, mainly because it's a one-time buy. They're refillable. I wouldn't necessarily recommend to buy this unless you were planning on doing this every day for a very long time. The sets are fairly expensive, I believe close to, if not over $100, just for a few pens. But if you look, they unscrew, and on the inside you could fill it potentially with whatever ink you want, including waterproof ink if you decide to use watercolor as your choice color medium. Okay, they are good, they're very similar to microns, however, like I said, they're expensive. Now, also for coloring or inking in black, you also have Prismacolor's markers. They have different varieties. These are the brush variety. There is a tip on either side. There's a brush, a thin brush and a thick brush, and I love them. They are great, and they are fairly expensive. One marker on its own can run about $5. The sets are a little bit cheaper per marker, but if you look on the side, there are different numbers, 70%, especially for the grays, which actually gives you different variations of grays to do variations of value, right? So light to dark, okay? Here we have the handles for a nib pen, which is the most classical way to ink. Some professionals and illustrators swear that this is the best and only way to ink. Others despise it. This is a nib, okay? If you look, there's a hole in the center, which basically is an ink well, which holds the ink. This works very similar to a feathered pen in the 1700s, where you would have to dip it in a bottle of ink and you draw. When you press on the nib, which I'll show you in a second here, the nib actually splits, allowing your line to go from thin to thick very easily, which is great line quality, and that's why a lot of artists love it. However, it does get a little pricey because you have to buy the handle, the nibs, the ink, such as the Higgins Eternal there, or even the waterproof ink. Now, if you're looking to do watercolor, I would recommend either doing this with the Higgins waterproof ink, or even doing just purchasing the microns in the waterproof ink, because you will need that, otherwise your ink will go everywhere. Now let's take a look at these in action. We'll go with the Rapidograph first. Like I said, very similar to the Micron. It's just refillable, so it lasts, I guess, a lifetime. It has a metal tip, so it does feel different on the paper than the Micron does. But overall, it's the same quality, same thing, just allows you to refill and use your own ink inside. That's really the only plus to it. The other type of pen we have here is the pen nib with, you would have to buy the ink separately to dip it in. You insert the nib in the front like so. The nib has that hole in it which holds the ink. So here I have a type of ink. It only matters if you're using watercolor. You must use the waterproof ink. Otherwise, Higgins is a good brand. Black Magic is fine too. Really any ink that is used for inking. You dip the pen in like you would a standard quill pen kind of thing, and then you draw. And if you notice that the line is very different than all the other inking materials we've looked at so far. It basically goes from thin to thick or thick to thin, depending on the pressure that you put on the nib. Like I said originally, the nib has a split in the middle, which means that as you press down, it opens up, allowing for more ink to flow, and then as you lift, it closes, allowing less ink to flow, which gives you the thin line. So it allows you to get this really great variation of line, which will help your cartoon stand out, undoubtedly. However, it is tedious because, as you can see, you constantly have to dip it into the ink. Okay, here we have Copic markers. By many artists are considered the best of the best as far as markers and inking goes. Okay, they sell a line of inking pens similar to microns that have numbers pertaining on the thickness of each pen. Okay, you can get those if you want. Markers are what they're really known for, which is an alcoholic-based markers with a dual tip similar to Prismacolor. However, this has a brush on one side and a block on the other. The alcoholic-based ink makes it great for mixing and blending colors and value. However, they're extraordinarily expensive, and I only recommend these for someone who is looking to do this for a very long time, if not professionally. If we take a look at both the Prismacolor brush pens and the Copics, we can see that they're pretty similar. If we take a look at the Prismacolor first, as you can see, there is a brush on the tip, and it will vary your line weight, which goes from thick to thin, similar to the nib pen. However, it's much thicker. On the other side, you have a standard straight nib, which would basically be the same as inking with a very thick micron. What's nice about these, though, is you can obviously get them in multiple grays, multiple colors, and I frankly love them. You can also get them in black too, and you can ink with them like you would with the micron. It allows for some great line variations. Here, the Copic liner, which is basically the same as the micron, it looks very similar. It feels really smooth, and I do love how the ink works and reacts with the other Copic inks. The regular Copics, which have a brush on one side and a flat on the other, work very similar to that of the Prismacolor. The brush allows for some great line weight variation from thick to thin, and the way the alcoholic ink works with each other, it really does lay over each other and allow you to see through with different values and colors as well. If you get the grays and the colors and combine the two, you can actually color something all in gray and then do the colors over it, and it will keep the shadows that you've drawn in with the grays, which is also great. But it also allows for the variation of the flat lines like you see, and the brush lines, which give you a nice point at the edge. Here you could see the orange going right over the gray, and because it's an alcoholic ink, it really does allow them to blend and work well together. The Prismacolor does work similarly, but it does not work quite as well as the Copic markers. Okay, now let's get into color. The basic thing that I recommend for everyone, especially if you're just taking this course as a non-major, would be color pencils. Prismacolor makes some of the best color pencils out there. You could also get Blick brand, Prang, I really don't care. But color pencils are a cheap and effective way of adding color to any ink drawing. So if you're looking to do something pretty standard and nothing too complicated, this is what I would recommend. Faber-Castell also makes a really good set of pencils. Obviously, you can buy a simple set or you can buy a complex set like the one seen here. Okay, watercolor is another option for adding color to your cartoons. It's a great way and a lot of professionals do so. However, I would really only recommend this being done if you're familiar with it, okay? Especially the majors out there, if you have the materials and the equipment, use it. They're great. Okay, Grumbacher is a good brand for paints. Winsor Newton is also a good brand for paints. You can get your brushes from Blick or from Winsor Newton, wherever the case may be, whatever you're more comfortable with. If you're planning on using watercolor to create color in your images, you really should get watercolor paper. You don't necessarily have to, but I highly recommend it. Arches is the best brand for this. Any professor would tell you so. There are two types, cold press and hot press. Hot press is smooth, cold press is textured, okay? You should really be doing your drawing and your inking on some sort of watercolor paper, as it will help the watercolor really retain its shape when you do add it to your drawings. You will also need waterproof ink so that it doesn't bleed when you do add the watercolor. Last but not least, we have a drawing tablet. I do not want you using this to create your cartoons from the very beginning. I want you using pencil and ink, as I think that's part of the learning process here. However, if you do wish to use a tablet and Photoshop or another program to add color to a scanned drawing, I'm totally fine with that. This is not something you should go out of your way to buy. I'm only offering this to people who already own the equipment and are familiar on how to use it. If you have any questions, concerns, if you're like, this is so overwhelming, please don't be overwhelmed. Just take it with a grain of salt. I just tried to give you as much information as possible and to cover all grounds in case you had any questions. But if you have any questions, concerns, or are curious about other types of brands, please shoot me an email, write in the message board, or ask fellow students what they think of different products, and see what the feedback is, and we can get through this process of ordering the materials together.